Welcome to today's webinar, Newforma and Autodesk BIM 360 Working Together. My name is Luke Carruthers with Civil and Structural Engineer Media. Thank you for joining this webinar, which is sponsored by Newforma. Before we begin today's presentation, first some general information about the webinar and the GoToWebinar platform. The views of the speakers and organizations participating in this webinar are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of Civil and Structural Engineer Media or its publisher, Zweig Group. If you have any technical difficulties while viewing this webinar, please submit questions or a brief explanation of your technical problem using the question tab on the GoToWebinar control panel, and a representative will assist you. During the webinar, you can also submit questions to our speakers using the same questions tab. Submit your questions at any time and we will try to answer as many as we can later in the webinar. Zweig Group encourages group learning for our events. If you are viewing the live webinar with a group on one registered person's computer, that person must complete and submit the multiple viewer registration form in order for everyone to earn credit. Download the multiple viewer registration form from the handouts tab on the control panel. Submission instructions are on the form. Viewers of archived webcasts must pass a quiz in order to download a certificate of completion. We have three presenters today. First up is Josh Chaney, who is Senior Manager of Strategic Alliances at Autodesk Construction Solutions. Josh oversees the integration ecosystem for Autodesk Construction Solutions. Josh has over 16 years of construction and construction tech experience and a focus on ENR 400 firms. The next speaker is Greg Hempstead. He is the Project Delivery Systems Manager and Associate of Schmidt Associates, working with project managers, quality managers, and technical staff to develop, train, and improve the systems we use to serve our clients' needs. Greg is always seeking to improve the way architects and owners work together, putting the right pieces of a project in place to maximize goals and beat budgets and deadlines. Greg is a leader in continuous quality improvement, project delivery process, and BIM coordination efforts that streamline communication between client and creator from early design through construction. The final speaker is Aaronbbett. Kivett spent 9 years at BNIM Architects in Kansas City, learning firsthand information management in the design industry. He has spent the last 10 years as Newforma's technical product manager, helping global architecture, engineering, and construction firms solve information management problems. Greg Hempstead will be our first presenter.
Hello, good afternoon. Greg Hempstead, Schmidt Associates. I just want to give you a quick introduction to Schmidt. We are a full-service architecture engineering firm. 2 locations, our headquarters in Indianapolis, Indiana, and our Aaronbbett office in Louisville, Kentucky. We specialize in K through 12 education, higher education, healthcare. We also do projects in the workplace, community, and lifestyle market segments. So we've got architects, we have engineers in-house, we have energy engineers that provide services surrounding that, interior design, site, and construction administration. And we operate under the concept of servant leadership, which really comes back to leading through service to others. So by achieving our owners, our clients' goals, we're best able to lead a design process.
All right, thanks a bunch. This is Josh Chaney from Autodesk. Real quickly want to thank Civil and Structural Engineer and Newforma for hosting this webinar and including Autodesk. A little bit about the Autodesk Construction Cloud. That's a product that I help oversee an ecosystem for. We continue to grow. It's a really exciting time for us, both on the design and construction side of BIM 360. And as we continue to grow our Autodesk Construction Cloud, both by acquisition and by integration, we're really excited about the future. Over the last 2 years, we've brought several products in-house. Assemble, which is used for model conditioning and helping massage model information to make it more comprehensive, and also with several pre-construction activities. Building Connected an industry-leading tool for bid management, bid solicitation, and subcontractor pre-qual. BIM 360, which is the wider platform serving workflows everywhere from design out through handover of construction projects, and then PlanGrid, which is our field-first solution and mobile application for drawing management. One company that's missing from here, a more recent acquisition, Pipe, tremendous product for managing specifications and submittals, and really managing those and expediting the submittal registry process through an OCR scanning. All of these products comprise Autodesk Construction Cloud, and it's also made up of our 150 plus various integrations that we have.
Thanks, Josh. And my name is Aaronbbett with Newforma. And Newforma has pioneered the project information management software category. Our unique focus is on design companies and managing project information. It really begins from the marketing phase all the way through archiving and operating that building. We've helped our customers manage over 3 million projects, and of that 6.6 petabytes of data, we help manage all kinds of project communications, from email, transmittals, RFIs, and submittals. And some of our customers, 71 of the top 100 architectural firms, and we're climbing our way up there on the ENR side. We've brought along Greg here as one of my favorite customers to work with. He's been testing out the BIM 360 integration. Is going to share some thoughts today about how it's helped his teams.
Thanks, Aaron. So I want to kind of start by setting the scene of our industry today, and what creates a climate that makes solutions like we're talking about today necessary. Got an increasingly complex project delivery that's happening. So just in order to be awarded projects and to deliver them, there's a number of complex partnerships that are becoming more prevalent. So you've got national and local firms that partner, and sometimes we can be on either side of that. You've got specialists that you may need to hire as sub-consultants or experts in a certain type of equipment or project type. There's increasing requirements for minority-owned businesses or other XBEs, women-owned businesses and veteran-owned businesses, which require us to, as a project lead, to bring people onto the team that maybe wouldn't have been on it otherwise, in order to secure the project and deliver it to the owner's specifications. And then, of course, there's always political and personal connections that influence a project team. But it seems like where that used to happen every once in a while, it's on every project these days. There's also varying contractual relationships. So Schmidt may end up in different ends of the contractual relationship too, either as a sub-consultant or as the design lead. But when it comes to project, contract types like design build, design bid build, we've got projects that are happening more prevalent with construction management as an administrator, construction management as a contractor, as well as developer jobs. So each one of those different contractual relationships really kind of influences what tools you're going to be using and who gets to decide what tools we're going to use in order to deliver a project. So we need to be able to be flexible with our standards, but everybody is establishing protocol that they want to follow, and we need to be able to play nice together with their project teams. So then add to that the complexity of digital data requirements that owners, local and state governments might require contractors that are trying to coordinate BIM models in 3 dimensions and and provide COBie data and that type of thing. And it becomes important to really be organized. So as we're doing that, there's a number of different tools that we need to use. BIM 360, Microsoft Teams, that type of thing. So there's a number of different cloud applications that we're using in order to deliver these projects with these teams. And we need to be able to centralize that project record into a single location. Next slide, please. And then you've got the people trying to get the work done. These people want to know, how do I find my project information with all these disparate systems and team members? How am I going to share it? And how can I do this efficiently, just in order to keep peace of mind while you're doing your job every day and do it remotely, right? So these are some of the things that hopefully you'll get a better sense of as we go through the presentation today.
That's awesome, Greg. So a little bit more about Autodesk Construction Cloud. We are uniquely positioned to serve the general AEC space, beginning with design and Autodesk's well-known authoring solutions, including Revit, Navisworks, and AutoCAD, and really using those various authored tools to the best of your advantage. Previously, I mentioned Assemble and Building Connected, and those really adhere to some of the requirements that are part of the planning stage and some of the obligations between contractors and architects, engineers, and owners. Then moving into the build phase, that's everything from drawing management, project management, field management, and commissioning, and then handover, and turning the building over to the owner, and then managing facilities inside of the building. Beyond the core competencies of Autodesk Construction Cloud, we're also building an incredibly robust ecosystem of construction and architectural engineering technology. And that's really where the relationship with Newforma really continues to come into play. Not only are we focused on data management, mixed reality, project management, and subsequent tools, but we're also trying to give our customers what they ask for. And the integration between Newforma and BIM 360 has been requested for a really long time, and it feels really good to be delivering on some of our customers' needs. As you expand out over the playing field of the entire ecosystem, it continues to grow. We actually have 8 new integrations that we'll be delivering before Autodesk University this year, and probably several more along the way. We're excited about enabling our customers, and to Greg's point about the added complexity of managing and delivering construction projects, we don't want to be a roadblock for our customers. So, hats off to Aaron and his team for really taking on the responsibility of delivering a great integration, and we're really excited about it on the BIM 360 side of things.
Thanks, Josh. I liked how you got a plug in there for Autodesk University coming up here. So I want to kind of shift the focus now to specifically to the integration that we're here to talk about today. And what we're trying to do here with Newforma Project Center is really build a bridge between your on-premise project information, the project files that you might have on your file server, the emails that you filed into your projects, and your other project information that you're keeping on premise. But link that together with the collaborative tools that you might be using to deliver your projects, like SharePoint Online, ProjectWise, or BIM 360. So with Newforma, we're providing an umbrella over all of these different things so that your projects have a single point of view or single point of access to get to whatever you need to within your project. So the BIM 360 integration itself in that vein is going to provide you access, from within Newforma. You'll be able to view and access the files that you have stored in BIM 360. You'll be able to relate BIM 360 files to other things within Newforma, things like RFIs, submittals, action items, change orders. Kyla, if you can jump to the next slide here, there we go. And in addition to be able to view and relate those items, you can also search through the contents of files that are stored on BIM 360. So this is a pretty big capability. If you're looking for something within the project, Newforma provides that single search box that you can type word into, and we'll look through the contents of the files anywhere linked to that project. So we'll be taking a look at how that works here in a minute. And additionally, the integration will allow you to search the files that Project Center's indexing from BIM 360 as well. So it is bidirectional in that sense. So we're going to look at these capabilities here in a few minutes. Before we jump into the demo, though, Greg is going to talk about some real-world examples of how these capabilities are helping him and his project teams.
Thank you, Aaron. So in terms of how we're currently using this integration, first and foremost, it makes for some pretty easy viewing of BIM 360 data for project managers and firm leadership, as well as our technical staff. And they're doing that from an environment that they're familiar with in Newforma. So especially for the firm leadership, we don't need to teach them a new interface and how to navigate through BIM 360 in order to get to the BIM data that they're interested in. They can do it from the context of the Newforma Project Center client. We're using it for sharing files with our design partners that may, for one reason or another, not be on BIM 360. I think we found that BIM 360 is great for different firms who are co-authoring. You get that real-time coordination. You can have people with different organizations authoring a file at the same time, and that's great, but it's not necessary for all of our consultants. Some just need to be on maybe a weekly or a nightly synchronization of BIM data, and this integration helps us do that by giving us copy-paste functionality directly to our network folders from BIM 360 and the other way around. So if you've ever tried to get the Revit files off of a BIM 360, maybe you can understand how this would be advantageous. There's a few steps you need to go through, and this streamlines that considerably. And then also it allows us to share regularly our BIM 360 models that are hosted there with Newforma. And we're used to exchanging all of our Revit files on a nightly basis that are stored on our network. We're able to really integrate the BIM 360 files that are saved in the cloud with those same file exchanges. And then we're also able to search and provide context for the entire project record. We'll be able to show this in a little bit, but what this does is Newforma is pretty good at allowing you to identify where your project information is on your network. So even if it's in different drive letters and that type of thing, you can index those things together and keep them centralized with the project. You can index and search all of your project email, no matter where it's saved within those folders. And this allows us to take BIM 360 files as well as Microsoft Teams files or SharePoint Online files and get those into that same project record and search them from the same location. There's a couple projects recently that we've been using this on to a great advantage. This just became available to us in a early adopter pilot, but the Indianapolis Consolidated Civil and Criminal Courthouse has been a project that's been going on now for a couple years. It's one of these big complex teams that I was talking about before is a design build project. So we aren't at the top of the organizational structure here, but it started, years ago with criteria developers who were using BIM files and exchanging those on a regular basis. And then a design builder who we're working for ended up getting the job, and that's when we started to coordinate efforts with them. So we lead the design team with our subs, and we have a lot of specialists and XBE firms that we're working with, each with different technical capabilities. So we're largely using Newforma in order to do that. But we are also sharing our files with the prime contractors and working in kind of a design assist methodology. And then the coordinated campus project teams. So this courthouse is a part of a much larger Marion County Community Justice Campus that has a jail, has a sheriff's department, office building on it. It's got a utility building on it. So each of these design build teams needed to coordinate with one another, and they were using BIM 360 in order to do that. So in terms of how we're using it, we're using BIM 360 for co-authoring. We had one firm of architects who was focused on the exterior enclosure of the building, and Schmidt was responsible for the interior design of the building as well as the engineering. And so we were using BIM 360 to collaborate with those models and get that real-time coordination that BIM 360 is so good at. We're also using BIM 360 for cross-team coordination with the other design build teams on the campus. And so we were on a weekly basis exchanging models so that the different building components could relate to one another. And then this is kind of where, and highlighted here, is where the Newforma integration comes in with BIM 360, is we're able to take those models that we're using in BIM 360 and blend them into our Newforma exchanges that we were doing with our subconsultants. And that way we're able to automate the ability for them to get those BIM 360 files on a daily basis. Now, when this project started, we didn't have the benefit of this integration. And so we had one of our full-time staff take about an hour a day and copy models up to and from the BIM 360 cloud for our project site as well as the cross-team coordination site. So this is probably saving us between 5 and 7 hours a week as we got the connector put in place. We're also using Newforma for submittals and for RFIs, and we're using a Procore connector. So that's another one of those owner requirements. We are posting all submittals and RFIs to Procore, but we're able to use our company's workflows in order to blend that in there, and we don't have to double log these items. It's an automated process that uses a connector. So another project we're using this on right now is Washington Township Schools in Indianapolis. This is a big school system. There's a number, this is one large campus with a number of different buildings on it. And each building actually has a different design team. Again, a lot of complicated partnerships there, but really Schmidt makes up the design lead here. We have a number of design subs, including civil, structural, some equipment, designers, and mechanical. This is a CMA job, so it's a construction manager job as admin, and that construction manager has yet to be determined, as well as the prime contractors. So no doubt when those project partners come on board, then they're going to have requirements of their own, and we're going to need to be flexible and connect with that. So in terms of our use of this integration on this project, we are using BIM 360 for co-authoring on the mechanical file. So we've got 2 different firms contributing to that in different capacities. We've got the civil topography we're actually doing in Civil 3D. And so we're posting that civil topography to BIM 360 and using the capabilities that Revit has to link that topography in a more accurate way than exporting that manually. And again, you can kind of see here highlighted that Newforma for the Schmidt sub-consultants, that's where we're using the integration. So we're taking those files that are hosted in BIM 360, blending it into our daily exchanges, and that's an automated process. And once again, because the owner requires it, we're using Procore to house all the final submittals and RFIs, but we're still able to use Newforma to process those internally with our staff and then get those posted automatically back to Procore.
Thanks, Greg. So I am going to show my screen here, and we're going to take a look at how the integration works. So just bear with me while I get this rolling. And eventually I'll find the right button. All right, there we go. So this is Newforma Project Center, and I'm in my 1 Oak Street project here. What I'm going to do is go ahead and go off the dashboard and open up my Project Files Activity Center. And the Project Files Activity Center in Newforma is where I can see, again, all of the different file storage locations for this particular project. So here I can see I've got some files on my file server. I'm also using SharePoint Online for this particular project. So I have some files stored out there. And then I have my BIM 360 files out here as well. So from one window, I can see all of the different files that make up this particular project. If I dive into the models folder here, I can see I've got a few different models on this particular project. I can click on one of these and I can see I've got different capabilities here. If if I want to, I can drag and drop this file into into my models folder. But a pretty common request that we have in Newforma is a way to quickly view or preview the Revit models or other BIM files. So I can just right-click on this Revit model. I can click Open in BIM 360, and it'll immediately open up this model right in the BIM 360 model viewer. So with, I guess that was 2 clicks if you're counting, I can very quickly get into one of these models and start working with it if I need to. So another capability that Greg mentioned was pretty useful to him is the ability to share these files quickly with other team members. So if you need to send a copy of this model to somebody, again, you can just click on that model right here in Newforma, and I can get to my info exchange transfer capabilities. So I can send somebody an email with a link to that file. I can also select a folder here in BIM 360, and I can create a shared folder. And in Newforma, you would choose who you want to share your folder with from your project team. So I want to share this with Mary, and you can give it a name. So I'll just call this the models folder. And over here under the synchronization schedule, Newforma will let you set a set time or recurring schedule to automatically share out whatever's in this folder. So if I wanted to share this out daily with Mary, I can do that automatically with Newforma. So another capability of the integration is the search tool. So I mentioned this at the beginning, but I think really the best way to understand how this works is to see it. So I have my Newforma search box here at the top right, and I can type a word like freight, and it's going to search through all of that project content. It's very fast. It's already finished, found 177 different results. And if you look here at the path, I can see some of these are in my project folder, and then others are in BIM 360. So I can click on one of these documents, and in the preview, I can get a preview of that document. I can also double click on that document, and it'll open that. This is a PDF, but this would work with a drawing or DWF. It'll open this drawing within the Newforma viewer, and it'll tell me exactly where on this drawing it found that search term. So if you're looking for something within the project, you don't have to think about where to start looking. You can just pull up Newforma and enter your term in the search box. Another thing that's pretty useful is this related items column. So you'll notice that these two documents each have a little icon in there. So if I select this document, I can go to the related items tab, and I can see that this file on BIM 360 is actually related to an action item within Newforma. Or this one I can see this is related to a submittal. So your BIM 360 content can be related to all of the other things that you might be managing or tracking within Newforma. So if you're familiar with how Newforma works, I think the best way to think of the BIM 360 integration is it really brings together your BIM 360 content and makes it usable within all of the other areas of Newforma that you might be using on a day-to-day basis. So that's pretty much it for the demo part here. So I'm going to hand it back to Greg to talk about how some of these things actually benefit their project.
All right. Thank you, Aaron, for taking care of the live demo aspect of this.
Always glad to help.
Okay, I just kind of want to come back around on some of the benefits of some of the things that Aaron was showing though. And kind of break it into kind of viewing, sharing, and then the search and context that are provided. But in terms of viewing, really what I like about the integration is that I'm able to leverage the Autodesk technology for what it's good at. It's authoring these BIM files, and so what better technology to use than BIM 360 to view it. Also, in terms of viewing, the BIM data gets updated, throughout the project. So those files that are being authored in BIM 360, we can have a live view of that by our firm leadership. And what hopefully you saw was a pretty easy interface, a two-click interface, in order to get to the live BIM 360 data in an environment that they're used to getting into. And then at the same time, I can very easily take that BIM 360 data and get it into Newforma, and vice versa. I can take the files that are being authored on my network, and I can very easily get those up to BIM 360 for those co-authoring teams to be able to reference that on a regular basis. And I have to say, just in terms of the Newforma paradigm of file sharing, that these shared folders get updated every day. If a file changes, you can set it to automatically synchronize, and it gets updated once a day. And so that helped us change our paradigm from, once a week FTP transfer to really a daily synchronization of files that happens with very little effort. It really prepared us for kind of the world of BIM 360, where you're working live together and co-authoring files. Also, in terms of Newforma, you get quick access in a familiar environment, and that goes for our firm leadership as well as our technical staff being able to get to that project record and view the files that exist where they exist all from one location. In terms of sharing, this does a lot to help reduce cross-organizational friction. You don't have to spend a whole lot of time trying to convince somebody to get onto a different platform or purchase a different license and that kind of thing. Because of the way the Newforma file sharing works, no license is required for them to be able to access these shared folders. And so we're able to kind of focus the technology where it's best used, so those co-authoring pieces can stay where they go, and people who have BIM 360 can engage in that, and those that don't need to aren't required to. That means that different companies get to maintain their protocols. So when you look at the effort that Autodesk and Newforma have gone to in order to create different connectors, that's the real value of that. We've been asking for that for years. It's finally happening, I think, kind of enabled by the cloud. And we're keen to take advantage of that. One of the benefits that provides me as somebody who implements and trains on software and negotiates contracts, we're able to more easily implement software internally and externally. So we can give people a window into BIM 360 so they can start to see the value of that. Maybe they jump in a little deeper on the next project. And the same internally, we get to maybe connect to a different piece of software and try it out. But it gives us flexibility as we train our staff and move from an old protocol perhaps to a new one, and it allows us to kind of do that progressively as we need to. And then in terms of search and context, this comprehensive view of the project record that Aaron showed is pretty important right now, because there are different clouds really focused on collaborating teams in different ways and that type of thing. It's nice to have kind of a platform agnostic way to see all these things together. So to be able to show the BIM 360, the SharePoint Online, and different network folders all in the same place. And then I like to kind of underline the importance of that file kind of workflow relationship that Aaron was showing. As you engage different files in Newforma into different workflows, whether it's an RFI, a PR, that type of thing, each time you connect one file to another, it tracks the relationship of those items, and it makes files easier to find. So if you're looking for the drawing that was attached to the RFI that you answered 3 months ago, it makes that search easier to execute. And then all those relationships persist in the project archive. So when we put this project to rest, we can put it off into a read-only drive, create a project record, and all these relationships are able to persist and continue to be searchable after that.
Thanks, Greg. That was it's really interesting to hear how people are using the features that we put together. So that's a look at the integration and some of its benefits. We're really excited to work with Autodesk on this integration. As you know, as Greg mentioned, people have been asking us to work together, integrating our systems for a while, and we're excited to begin to see the benefits of that effort. We're going to be working on additional capabilities for the integration. You know, at this time, we're really focused on integrating the project files components of BIM 360 with Newforma, as you've seen here. But we are definitely looking for additional feedback on, you know, where to move that integration to in the future. Anything you want to add here, Josh?
You know, a couple things. First, definitely have to tip my hat to you, Aaron, and the greater team at Newforma. You guys continue to innovate, and this is a great integration that I think really empowers our customers. The only other thing that I'll add is, please continue to reach out to Aaron and myself about workflows you'd like to see between our products. There is a thin line between, where we competitively overlap versus adding a ton of value to our mutual customers. But I think Aaron and I are willing to work together on that front and try to bring our products closer and closer together to really deliver what our customers are asking for.
Great, thanks, Josh. So at the moment, the integration is still in early access, but will be available with Project Center Enterprise Edition later this year. It will require Newforma Link. It's designed to work with BIM 360 design, and it does require an Autodesk Forge account in order to set it up and use it, although we do not use any cloud credits currently. So if you have additional questions about how to get the integration, if you're an existing Newforma customer, please talk with your account manager, and they can get you some more information on specifics around availability. So I think at the end here, we're going to take some questions and answers that have been coming in. And Brian is going to help me with that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a few questions here. So thank you everyone for your participation, and we still have some time for some additional. So if you have a question, there is a questions pane inside of the GoToWebinar panel. Just go ahead and jump in there and submit your question. First one is NPC showing a quote unquote mirror of the folders within BIM 360 document management, or are the folders shown in NPC under BIM 360 for models and sheets only?
Good question. So what we were looking at there in the demo is, within Newforma, we are showing the contents of the project files area within BIM 360. So it is the sort of the real information. It is pointing to that data. We're not copying it or syncing it or anything like that. When you open up Newforma and click on that BIM 360 folder, it is showing you the live content of BIM 360.
Great. Does the person, and I think this is maybe referencing when you did that shared folder, but does the person you share your files with also need to have Newforma on their system?
No, if you create a shared folder or use an info exchange transfer, the recipient does not need Newforma. They don't need BIM 360 either. They are just going to receive an email with a link to download those files. So no extra software is needed for those people.
Perfect. Can Revit be used with Newforma? Just came in.
Yeah, we do have an integration directly with Revit. We didn't show that today because it's not part of the BIM 360 integration itself, but that Revit integration will do things like let you synchronize sheets with Newforma, identify action items and markups within Newforma. All that stuff can be done in Revit using our Revit add-in.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. If you want to learn a little bit more on the Revit integration, feel free to reach out and we can have a conversation around that. Another question, I'm a current Newforma customer and love the thought of this addition, but right now we have data stored on our file server in SharePoint Online and also in BIM 360. If we need to do a file transfer and not necessarily a shared folder, does that give us the ability to pull data from these different sources and create one transfer instead of a transfer for each additional program? Sorry, that's a little long one, but I think the thought is that if I'm a customer and I have files in BIM 360 in SharePoint Online on my file server, traditionally I need to share the files that are in SharePoint through SharePoint. I need to share the files that are in BIM 360 through BIM 360, and I need to share the files on my file server through some sort of FTP. Is Newforma kind of giving me one place to share all that data no matter where it's living?
Exactly. So you can create a file transfer and include files from all of those different locations. What we actually will do is we'll create a record copy of the files in that transfer. So we'll actually download the file from each of those locations, zip it together, store it in a special spot within your project, and then we'll send out that link to those files to your recipients. Greg, do you guys use document sets? I don't know if you're, but he probably thought he was done. So
Absolutely. Yeah, we use document sets to kind of bundle together the important Revit files and DWG files that we want to share on a regular basis. And then usually we make a shared folder out of that document set. But we've been known to just do individual transfers with those document sets as well.
Yeah, so those document sets are a way to sort of create a list of files from many different locations that you want to sort of regularly go back to and transfer. So that's one of those Newforma features that the power of it can really be enabled by this type of, or unlocked by this type of integration.
Nice. One maybe for the Autodesk side, is Autodesk Forge included in the Autodesk AEC collection?
That's a great question. Forge cloud credits are separately purchased outside of our collections. You can go to our Forge website and learn more about Forge itself. It's also worth pointing out that Forge is some of the technology that supports the APIs that enable us to integrate with Newforma.
Okay, great. Last one that I see, does Newforma give me the ability to take actions on the files based off of BIM 360? Like, can I create items off of that data? And if I make a change, like delete a file from BIM 360 in Newforma, will that push or make that change in the BIM 360 document management repository?
Yes, so since, again, you have a live view of the content of BIM 360, if you can delete something, rename it, move it, those changes will immediately be reflected within BIM 360. You know, we do respect all of your user permissions. So obviously, if you don't have the ability to delete a file in BIM 360, you're not going to be able to delete it from Newforma.
Okay. One just came in. Are there project scheduling capabilities in Newforma?
So not really. We don't. We're not a replacement for something like Microsoft Project or P6. We do have task management capabilities. So RFIs, submittal, or sorry, action items, deadlines, milestones. We do have the ability, we have a feature called Project Timeline, which will give you a linear view of those milestones and due dates for action items and RFIs and submittals and things like that. But I would not describe us as project scheduling software. And Brian, I thought there was a question about RFIs and submittals. Did we miss that one?
So there was some feedback that we got in the questions about integrating the RFI and submittal module in BIM 360 to Newforma's RFI and submittal module. And I think you mentioned a little bit later in the conversation that this is the start of our integration with BIM 360, and you guys are looking to expand that. So that was some feedback that now that we have the file integration, it would be nice to be able to link the RFIs and submittals made in BIM 360 to Newforma as well.
Yeah, that's really high on our priority list. That is similar to the integration that Greg described around how we integrate with Procore. So bridging workflows between the contractor and architect. We are planning to build that same functionality for BIM 360 so that the contractor can go into BIM 360, create a submittal, assign it to the architect for review, and the architect can carry out that review process within Newforma and then respond in Newforma and have that response automatically go back to BIM 360. So that is next on our list of development priorities, actually.
Well, very good. I think that is the last of the questions. Good job, Aaron.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, speakers. As we finish, please make sure to download your certificate of completion now from the Handouts tab in the control panel. If you missed our note at the beginning and you are watching the live webinar with a group of 1 or more people, please download the multiple viewer registration form, which is under the Handouts tab as well. We need this information in case you are audited and we are contacted to verify this continuing education activity. There will be screenshots of your screenshots of your control panel to help you navigate these handouts. Additionally, this webinar has been recorded and will be hosted on csengineermag.com/continuing-education. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to the speakers and everyone at Newforma for this presentation. Thank you to everyone who joined us. This ends today's webcast.